Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Rihanna.
Have you ever heard of a term called a spicy pillow?
No. A
Okay.
spicy pillow? I thought you were going to say like a spicy egg roll or something.
No. So there was a subreddit that was created years ago called r/spicy pillows.
Of course it was created on Reddit.
I'll show you a few images of spicy pillows.
What? Okay, wait. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. My eyes are processing. So this looks like an iPad maybe, but it looks like somehow the screen has popped out from the surface and it's now like curved and like popped out from the base of the iPad. What happened here?
Yeah, it's bulging, right?
Oh, it's bulging.
Okay. If you looked at the last image.
Oh, snap. Ooh. Okay, so now its innards are exposed.
Yeah, and you see the spicy pillows.
So what's happening is like the batteries are undergoing some sort of like chemical process that causes the material that they're encased in to basically expand and create like bulging screens and popped off like bases and basically just kind of like,
Yes.
got it.
Yes.
Sound effects.
They're working as intended, these things, right? That they're not blowing up in your hand, but there are gases being trapped inside of the spicy pillowcase. I don't know who would not have the self-preservation instinct when they see their lithium battery and their device start to bulge. I don't know who would be compelled to puncture it. But if you're that person, please don't do that.
Well, it's called Darwin.
Yes. Well, yeah, there's some natural selection going on. I've developed an irrational fear of spicy pillows. I'm trying to combat this fear because we know EVs are a big news item every time they catch fire.
Mm-hmm. And there's certainly been a lot made about that recently in the state of Florida, given our EVs and hurricanes.
Yes. But I don't want that to be something that outweighs the reality of things, because if you see a news report of a Tesla catching fire, a EV catching fire, it makes you think that any EV can kind of catch fire. Mm-hmm. The same way I think when I plug my phone in at night, I'm going to wake up to a spicy pillow. I think these are things that are sensationalized to a degree, so that's why I'm investigating it, to maybe assuage some of my fears, but also be a little more informed. This week, we're talking about lithium-ion batteries, big and small, and how exactly they hold up in a hurricane.
Here's you're going, oh, really? But I own an EV. I love it. I've had an EV for years. My wife loves the thing.
I spoke to Florida CFO State Fire Marshal and EV owner Jimmy Petronas about the current state of safety measures and hazards surrounding electronic vehicle batteries.
But also what I've learned is, it's a technology you got to respect. I don't leave any of my devices in my garage plugged in 24/7 because I know these things can go into breakdown. So it's just, it is what it is. I think there's, for those people that have lawnmowers that have decided to go with a lithium ion battery, they thought about how much sometimes fiddling with a gas powered lawnmower engine can be frustrating, and how the ease and convenience of having just a battery, all you do is plug it in and unplug it, and you don't have to fiddle with buying gas. That's kind of a cool convenience. But if you live somewhere where you got saltwater storm surge, that lawnmower could be a bomb just ticking in your garage and you don't even realize it.
Lithium-ion batteries are portable. They're high-powered and efficient. That's why they're the standard for powering everything from cell phones to vehicles. And barring any manufacturing defects, under most conditions, they're safe. But as you might imagine, lithium-ion and saltwater are not exactly compatible, which is a distinctly Florida problem.
Since Hurricane Helene, that includes Milton also, we've had 66 lithium-ion battery fires. 14 of those have been EVs, and that's between those two storms. Different fires were caused by different lithium-ion battery-powered devices, and whether it be hoverboards, scooters, golf carts, like I said, but even in the case of we don't think about it, but a lot of our wheelchairs now are lithium-ion battery powered. So we had a few of those also. Again, it's an item that it's not like you can take your lithium-ion battery wheelchair and tote it up the stairs. So it's going to be something that's probably going to be subject to being at ground level, and that's where you're going to have the most risk of any type of fire because of storm surge taking place at the ground level.
These fires scale with the scale of the battery itself, meaning electronic car batteries have an excess of fuel to keep these fires burning. Not only do they start burning and keep burning, but they also have the potential to reignite. They have the potential to ignite weeks after the battery has been compromised by saltwater storm surge. And truly, they keep burning because right now, according to Jimmy, we don't entirely know how to manage them.
Right now, there's no way to stop a lithium-ion battery. It's called a thermal runaway. And so when you have salt water, heavy metal, is typically, think about the mineral content of salt water, you're creating a grounding effect, which ultimately will lead that battery to ignite. It doesn't matter if you submerge it in water. It doesn't stop burning. So, I mean, the best thing you can do is just try to do everything you can to manage the burn that it's going to go through. In some cases, we saw with Hurricane Ian, where they were actually taking, EVs that had caught on fire, and they dumped them in retention ponds. I mean, at least you got it somewhere where it's going to be limited amount of harm. There's still a real lack of solutions out there. I mean, one of the solutions is you put a thermal blanket over the EV. I mean, this was literally just a big blanket, but these things don't smother out. All you're doing is literally containing the fire to under the blanket. And this is like trying to put a blanket over an oven that you can't turn off. So, I mean, these aren't really solutions. The only thing that this kind of does is it may help the fire stay contained so it doesn't spread, but you still have a fire that's raging underneath this thermal blanket. So, I mean, it's a mess. When they respond to an EV fire, sometimes they can be there for hours because you can't put the fire out. They plug the water hose into it and just let the hose run the same way the blanket would work. You're just trying to minimize the fire because you can't put it out.
EV advocates would suggest that EVs aren't any more likely to combust than a regular combustion engine. But when it comes to saltwater, there is a chance that they will.
Look, there are more fires with internal combustion engines. That is, those critics out there will, there's, just a fraction of them are EVs. Look, yeah, I agree. But there's only a fraction of EVs in the market in the first place. And when they do catch on fire, you can't put them out. So that this is reality. And then the federal government is creating a $7,500 tax credit. That's an incentive out there to drive these things. But nobody's reading the fine print because there's no fine print even printed anywhere that says, "Hey, be careful." Now here's the other reality. This isn't a problem in Atlanta or Dallas or Austin or Tulsa or any of these Midwestern states. It's only going to be somewhere where you have saltwater storm surge.
This is a problem that first became apparent to Jimmy back in 2022 with the storm surge brought by Hurricane Ian and the EV fires brought by that storm surge. At the time, he called on manufacturers to do more.
Well, we learned after the fact how dangerous these things were, and then we wanted participation from the manufacturers to do push notifications, and it becomes a slippery slope. Do they really want to create a narrative that we are selling a product that has an inherent risk to its owner? That's not a message they want to be associated with. So they have to find a way to thread the needle. And unfortunately, as we have more and more evidence of the risks that go along with this technology, they have no choice but at some point to stand up and own it. And this is what we're starting to see more and more. And we will force them to be better stewards of their technology by investing in more ways to make the batteries less susceptible to this type of runaway effect. partnering with the EV manufacturers to be proactive, as they were with Milton, is the right way to protect our citizens. And in the case, I give credit where credit's due. Tesla did push out a push notification to the screens of their automobiles. In addition, they pushed out a push notification to the car owners' smart apps in order to tell them what they needed to do in order to avoid the risk of a lithium-ion battery fire.
While a Florida-proof EV battery has yet to emerge, that doesn't mean you can't embrace an electronic vehicle. It just means you have to respect the technology where it's at.
I think more and more where you're having the more sensational narratives are from the EVs, because you think this is actually a product that I'm putting my kids in, so there's definitely just a different type of risk that goes along with it. And as long as you don't drive it in salt water, you're going to be fine. If you have a wreck with it, it actually has some pretty good protections in it to keep from a runaway event to take place. But you got to treat it with respect. So we're going to have some growing pains all the way around, but we'll get through these.
Thanks for listening to Speaking Of, the Unbothered edition from WFSU Public Media. New episodes drop every Thursday, and you can find them wherever you get your podcasts. Speaking Of is produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation.